Have you ever judged a book by its cover? Or assumed someone's story just by looking at their clothes? Today's story is about Elias Thorne, a tech millionaire who thought he was the savior of the less fortunate. He saw a cashier's daughter and assumed she needed his charity to survive. He invited her to a Math Olympiad to save her, only to realize that while he was busy judging her appearance, she was already solving equations he couldn't even read. This is a story about prejudice, hidden genius, and the moment arrogance gets destroyed by reality. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And if you believe talent comes from everywhere, smash that like button right now. Let's get into it. Elias Thorne did not shop at a supermart. He had people for that. But on this particular Tuesday, his personal assistant was out sick, his housekeeper was on vacation, and he had a craving for a very specific brand of sparkling water that only this mid-range chain carried. Elias was a man who wore his net worth like a suit of armor. At 52, he was the CEO of Thorne Tech, a company that specialized in algorithmic trading. He considered himself a genius, a philanthropist, and above all, a detector of talent. He loved the narrative of the white savior, the idea that he could pluck a poor, unfortunate soul from obscurity and mold them into greatness. It fed his ego more than his bank account did. He stood in the checkout line, impatiently tapping his Italian leather shoes against the linoleum floor. The woman in front of him was counting out coupons. Elias sighed loudly, checking his Rolex. When he finally reached the register, he looked up, ready to snap at the cashier to hurry up. But he paused. The cashier was a middle-aged black woman named Maya. She looked tired. Her uniform was clean but worn at the elbows. But it wasn't Maya that caught Elias's eye. It was the girl sitting on a stool behind the counter, tucked away in the corner of the booth. She looked about 19. She was wearing a faded gray hoodie, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She was scribbling furiously on the back of a long roll of receipt paper. Elias squinted. He prided himself on his math skills, it was the foundation of his fortune. He expected to see drawings, or perhaps high school algebra. Instead, he saw Greek letters. Sigmas. Integrals. He leaned over the counter, ignoring Maya who was scanning his water. Is that the Navier-Stokes existence and smoothness problem? Elias asked, his voice filled with genuine shock. The girl stopped writing. She looked up, her eyes calm and dark. Part of it. I'm trying to reconcile the pressure variable within a confined 3D space. Elias blinked. This girl, sitting on a stool in a supermart, wearing clothes that cost less than his socks, was tackling one of the Millennium Prize problems. The narrative in Elias's head immediately spun into gear. Here she is, he thought. The diamond in the rough. The wasted potential. A genius trapped in poverty, forced to work in a grocery store, probably unable to afford college. He looked at Maya, the mother. He saw a woman struggling. He saw the girl, a victim of circumstance. I'm Elias Thorne, he said, puffing out his chest. CEO of Thorne Tech. Maya paused scanning. She offered a polite, customer service smile. That's nice, sir. Your total is $14.50. Elias ignored the total. Did you hear me? I'm a billionaire. And I see your daughter doing math back there. Math that shouldn't be possible for, well, for someone in her position. The girl, whose name was Zoe, capped her pen. She exchanged a quick, unreadable glance with her mother. My position? Zoe asked softly. You know, Elias waved his hand vaguely at the store, the uniform, the receipt paper. This? I run a foundation, you know. The Thorne Excellence Initiative. We find underprivileged youth who have slipped through the cracks. We give them a chance. Maya's smile tightened. My daughter hasn't slipped through any cracks, sir. She's doing just fine. Elias chuckled, a condescending sound. Madam, she is doing calculus on receipt paper. I am holding a gala this Saturday. The National Math Olympiad exhibition. The brightest minds in the country will be there. Investors. Deans of Ivy League schools. He pulled a gold-embossed card from his pocket and slammed it on the counter. Bring her. I'll have a spot reserved for her in the competition. If she's as smart as she looks, I'll give her a scholarship. I'll get her out of all this. Zoe looked at the card, then at Elias. Mr. Thorne, I really don't need. Don't let pride ruin her future, Elias interrupted, looking sternly at Maya. I'm offering you a lifeline. Don't be foolish. He threw a $20 bill on the counter. Keep the change. See you Saturday. Don't disappoint me. He walked away, feeling a warm glow in his chest. He had done his good deed for the day. He had found a project. The Thorne estate was a sprawling mansion of glass and steel. The Saturday gala was the event of the season. Waiters in white tuxedos circulated with champagne, the air smelled of expensive perfume and money. Elias stood on the stage, a microphone in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed. "Tonight isn't just about equations. It's about opportunity. It's about finding brilliance where no one else bothers to look." He scanned the crowd. He had told his friends, his investors, and even a reporter from the Times that he was bringing up a street mathematician he had discovered in a grocery store. He had built it up as a Pygmalion moment. He would present her, she would solve a problem, and he would be the hero who saved her from a life of scanning barcodes. Then, he saw them. Maya and Zoe stood at the back of the ballroom. They looked different. Maya was wearing a tasteful, elegant navy dress. Zoe wasn't in a hoodie anymore, she wore a sharp black blazer and slacks. They didn't look like the charity cases he had described to his friends. They looked dignified. Elias waved them over. "Ah, there she is. Come up here." The room went silent as Zoe walked up the steps to the stage. She looked small next to the towering projection screen displaying complex algorithms. "Everyone," Elias announced, wrapping an arm around Zoe's shoulders. She stiffened slightly. "I met this young lady 3 days ago. She was helping her mother work a register at a supermarket. But I saw her scribbling math on a scrap of paper. I knew instantly, I had to save this talent." A polite ripple of applause went through the room. "Zoe, isn't it?" Elias said, beaming. "I've set up a little demonstration. Behind me is a modification of the Riemann hypothesis. It stumps my lead engineers. I want you to take a crack at it. Don't worry if you can't finish it. Just show us how you think." He handed her a digital stylus. He expected her to struggle, to sweat, to need his encouragement. Zoe took the stylus. She turned to the screen. She didn't hesitate. She didn't pause to think. Her hand moved in a blur. She wasn't just solving it, she was correcting the premise of the question itself. Line 1, variable correction. Line 2, integration by parts. Line 3, the solution. It took her 45 seconds. She stepped back. The screen displayed a perfect, elegant proof. The silence in the room was heavy. The professor of mathematics from Stanford, who was sitting in the front row, stood up. His mouth was open. That's a novel approach," the professor stammered. "She just bypassed the critical strip entirely. Who taught you that?" Elias grabbed the microphone again, his face flushed with triumph. "I told you. Raw, natural talent. Unrefined, perhaps, but with the Thorne Scholarship, we can get her into a community college, maybe transfer her to a state school eventually. I am prepared, right now, to offer this young woman $10,000 for her education." He held up a giant novelty check. The cameras flashed. Elias waited for the tears of gratitude. He waited for the mother to fall to her knees and thank him. Zoe looked at the check. Then she looked at Elias. She stepped up to the microphone. "Mr. Thorne," she began, her voice clear and steady. "I appreciate the gesture. Really. It's rare to see people willing to give money away." Elias smiled. "You're welcome, my dear. You deserve a future." "However," Zoe continued, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. You saw me at the store and assumed I was uneducated because of where my mother works. You assumed I was scribbling on receipt paper because I couldn't afford a notebook." She reached into her blazer pocket. "I was at the store because I was on fall break, visiting my mom. I like sitting in the booth with her. We talk. And the receipt paper? It's just really satisfying to write on. Smooth texture." A few people in the audience chuckled. Elias's smile faltered. I don't understand." "As for the scholarship," Zoe said, pulling out a plastic ID card attached to a lanyard. She held it up. "I can't accept it. It would be a conflict of interest with my current grant." The camera zoomed in on the ID. It was a student ID. Under her name, it read, PhD candidate, Department of Theoretical Physics. "I'm not looking for a community college, Mr. Thorne," Zoe said, her voice hardening slightly. "I'm a third-year doctoral candidate at MIT. I'm fully funded by the National Science Foundation. In fact, the equation you put on the board? That was from a paper my advisor and I published last month. You set up the variables wrong, by the way." The room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Elias felt the blood drain from his face. He looked at the check in his hand. $10,000. It suddenly looked like pocket change. Maya, who had been standing quietly to the side, stepped forward. She took the microphone from a paralyzed Elias. "Mr. Thorne," Maya said. "I am a cashier. I work hard. I stand on my feet for 10 hours a day so my daughter never had to worry about a bill. You looked at me and saw a failure. You looked at her and saw a charity case. She gestured to the wealthy crowd. You think brilliance only wears suits? You think genius only comes from zip codes like this one? My daughter learned to counting change in my line. She learned work ethic watching me. You didn't discover her. I raised her. Maya looked at Zoe with immense pride. And she doesn't need your check. She's already richer than you. Maya tapped her own temple. Up here. Where it counts. Zoe took her mother's hand. Shall we go, Mom? I think I fixed his math for him. That should be payment enough. We shall, Maya said. They walked off the stage, down the aisle, and out the double doors. The room remained silent for 3 long seconds. Then, the Stanford professor started clapping. Slowly at first, then louder. Then the rest of the room joined in. A thunderous applause, not for Elias, but for the 2 women walking out the door. Elias Thorne stood alone on the stage, holding his useless novelty check, realizing that for all his money, he had never felt so poor. Elias learned a hard lesson that day. He assumed that because he had money, he had superior intelligence. He assumed that service workers were beneath him. But true value isn't written on a price tag, and true genius doesn't always wear a suit. Zoe went on to finish her PhD at 22. She revolutionized quantum computing. And she never forgot where she came from, not the poverty Elias imagined, but the richness of a mother's love and hard work. What a powerful reminder to never judge a book by its cover. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button, it really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that touch the heart and open the mind. What would you have done if you were Zoe? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.